Introduction. I grew up as a military dependent, part of a family whose life was dictated by relocation orders from the U.S. Army. As a result of our government's policy of policing the world after World War II, we traveled the globe, ready for change at a moment's notice, absorbing bits of new cultures wherever we lived. Transitioning to the past in order to document my early life was an emotional journey. I wept as I wrote about leaving my grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. When I wrote about saying goodbye to people from other countries, whom I loved so much and who loved me equally, I wept again. But writing this book helped me grow as a person, too. I looked back at the life of a child through the eyes of an adult. I gained a better understanding of my parents' reasoning for my brother and me. I saw the relationship from an adult's perspective, felt the fear they must have felt moving to Japan 7 years after the war, and then to Germany 6 years later. Writing about people like Mama-san, Hatsi, Mr. and Mrs. Kimoto, and Mr. and Mrs. Gruckenberg, whom I loved as much as I did my own grandparents, I realized that I saw the world through a different pair of eyes than my parents had. Being a military dependent left me feeling that I do not belong in any one place. It was easy to make friends among military families because we all had so much in common. Americans away from home, displaced, but well-traveled. There were wrenching, heartbreaking goodbyes, fear of the unknown, fear that an American military uniform would provoke a negative response, and the simmering fear that we would not return to our families. But there were also joys. Experiencing history firsthand as we did in Nara, living in an old Japanese house in downtown and having tea with Mama-san on Saturday mornings. Living in Munich, we traveled through Europe, taking in the Brussels World Fair, walking through the Colosseum in Rome, the streets of Pompeii, the Acropolis, and the streets of Tripoli, Libya, and shopping in the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul. There were new languages to learn, interactions with fascinating people, discoveries of similarities between our family and families in Asia and Europe. We also experienced the horrible realities of Hiroshima and Dachau. But despite all of these opportunities, coming home to our own family was the greatest joy. It was not easy to live with my father, Carl Kennedy Hughes. He was away a lot, and by the time he came home, or we went to join him, we had all changed and were 4 strangers living under the same roof. He was always a soldier, a warrior, and he wanted us to be the same way. I never understood his rationale and have spent my life thinking about my father, wondering why he was the way he was and what made him that way. He was from Blytheville, Arkansas, and, to my knowledge, never traveled far from the area until he joined the Army Air Corps in 1940. While he was in England during the war, he was promoted from a sergeant to a 2nd lieutenant and invited to join the Army Corps of Engineers. He was also appointed a secret operations agent for the U.S. government, concerning military sabotage, espionage, traitors, etc., according to his World War II diary. My mother, Sarah Catherine Emmett Hughes, was born in Houston, Texas. She also never traveled away from home until she married my father, and military life took them both around the world. My father did not see me until I was 2 years old. I was born in August 1943 in Houston, while he was in a military camp on the East Coast preparing to go to war. In October 1943, he left Camp Kilmer, New Jersey, for the war in England. He did not return to Houston until November 1945. Peeking through the shrubs in the backyard of my grandparents' house in Houston's West End, I saw my father for the first time. He got out of a shiny black car wearing a khaki uniform with short sleeves. When he came into the backyard, I asked who he was. He jerked around in surprise and looked at me for a long time before he replied, "My name is Carl Hughes.